Happy Thursday, members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, and happy July 1st. Happy Canada Day to all my fellow Canucks out there in the Altcoin Buzz Army. Hope you're having a great one. Hopefully a day off, or hopefully a day that you can at least enjoy. Unfortunately, the market is down a little bit on this day. We're down 2.7% in these last 24 hours, and everybody's trying to make heads and tails of what this means. Different chartists are suggesting that this has everything to do with higher lows that we need to set in accordance with the Wyckoff distribution pattern. Others are suggesting, you may have heard the invoking of this term, the Puell ratio, which is basically a ratio. As the numerator, you have the daily issuance of Bitcoin in US dollars over the 365-day average USD Bitcoin issuance. And right now that ratio is actually one of the lowest figures that we've seen over the course of that indicator's history, below 0.5, which means that you have a 2-to-1 ratio, or said in another way, you have the average daily issuance in US dollars, which is about half of the 365-day average. We'll take a look at that. I wouldn't be too concerned with what's happening in the market right now. We're just kind of following a trend, as we'll see in just a moment. But we also have great news, guys, at a macro level with what Visa is doing. Crypto.com is in the news. CRO has partnered in a big way with Formula One. So with F1 to the tune of $100 million. We also have Chainlink news. We have Andreessen Horowitz. Don't forget, they set up that $2.2 billion crypto fund. They've begun allocating some of that money into crypto startups. So there's a lot to be optimistic about. If you like this kind of content, guys, Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, and altcoins, be sure to like and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz News. All right, let's begin here with what I think is a pretty honest assessment of the current situation with regards to Bitcoin Rec Capital here on Twitter. To set the stage, I want to go back a couple of days. So first, looking at this tweet from the 29th of June, Bitcoin is very close to challenging for a breakout from this downtrending wedging structure. And as we can see here, it has followed this wedge. It has followed sort of these guardrails very closely. A couple of days ago, we were potentially flirting with the breakout at the $36,000, $37,000 zone. Fast forwarding a couple of days now to July 1st, Bitcoin rejects from the top of this downtrending wedging structure, failing to break out, unfortunately. BTC is still maintaining the structure, and the blue diagonal will still be the trend line to watch for a breakout when the time comes. So very interesting to see just how obedient Bitcoin has been, looking at the daily candles, to this structure, really since going back to mid-May or so. It's pretty impressive indeed. At the time of this recording, as you can see, well, actually, I'll make sure that you guys can see, first of all. There you go. So we did fail to break out of this particular structure. Are we going to set higher lows this time around on the way down? That's kind of the big question at the time of this recording. Bitcoin, let's refresh for full accuracy, $33,770. That's according to CoinGecko data. Many are suggesting as well that this has everything to do with the Wyckoff distribution pattern. And I'm not of the opinion that, there's some physical law of the universe that suggests we have to follow these steps and all of the different peaks and troughs and phases, A, B, C, D, and E. So I'm a little bit of a skeptic kind of naturally, but at the same time, ever since really the major Bitcoin price capitulation from the 19th of May, and even some of the price trends leading up to that earlier in May, you could even argue kind of late April, I have to admit that, wow, does it ever match up very, very closely with the performance of Bitcoin's price? So now there is the suggestion that, look, it's going to be choppy, it's going to be very volatile, but as we enter now into phases C, D, and E, as long as we can post higher lows with the price of Bitcoin and we can turn previous resistance into new support, I think there is now a strong argument. There's a strong case to be made that we're getting into those latter stages, D and E, where we're going to spring into perhaps not new all-time highs right away, but we're going to kind of clear ourselves. We're going to get away from these bottoms that we've now hopefully established. And look, I mean, I don't think that anything is, there's nothing kind of automatic, there's nothing guaranteed about Bitcoin's price performance. But again, taking a look at how closely you can correlate it to a traditional Wyckoff distribution over the last couple of months, I have to admit that it's been shocking how accurate that particular model has been in the short term. Bitcoin Archive here is suggesting that if we recover based on a 2019 pattern, things could actually look pretty good. Look, I mean, whenever you're at the bottom of a particular trend, you're going to probably feel a little bit negative, a little bit gloomy, but things reverse just as quickly in this space, which is nice. So if this particular scenario plays out, it would give, in this case, Bitcoin Archive a lot more confidence in a longer bull market that could stretch into summer 2022. I'm not placing a lot of confidence into this particular prediction. This is really just copying, pasting one portion of Bitcoin's price graph over the last couple of years, copying it and then pasting it into, in this case, July, August, September, October, and maybe, even November, December 2021. I don't think that's necessarily analytically solid, but I think the suggestion here is forget about the technicals. If history repeats itself, if previous patterns kind of play out in the next few months, then there's reason to be optimistic. I wouldn't bank on this necessarily, take it with a grain of salt, but it is to suggest that things can turn around very, very quickly in this space. Okay, also from Rect Capital here. Here is a term that you may have heard about lately, the so-called Puell or P multiple. Bitcoin is undervalued according to this metric, which is a ratio. I'm going to express some skepticism about this particular metric in a moment, but let's first get a feel for it. Let's define it. So BTC is undervalued whenever the P multiple indicator reaches the green area. Historically, the initial P multiple revisit of the green area rarely corresponds to a BTC bottom. In fact, it is usually the second revisit that precedes a bottom for BTC. A little bit of complicated wording there, but as you can see, the Puell multiple, as it's known, is just a ratio. And right now, the ratio is historically low. It's been suggested that anytime the ratio has been kind of in this territory at about the 0.5 level, it's been a very strong buy indicator for Bitcoin. And purportedly, that's only ever happened 4 or 5 times in the history of Bitcoin's chart and analysis, basically. There's only ever been instances, precedents, where you've had sort of these levels, that's only happened 4 or 5 times. So what we're talking about here is the daily issuance of Bitcoin. That's your numerator, okay? The daily issuance of Bitcoin in US dollar terms over the yearly, so the 365 moving average daily issuance of Bitcoin. And what you have is a situation, so numerator, right? If you remember your fractions, numerator, denominator. The numerator right now, because the daily issuance of Bitcoin in USD is actually quite low, you have a stronger denominator. You have a denominator that's about twice as much. So you have a ratio that equates to about a half, so 0.5, right? You have about the daily Bitcoin issuance is about half the value of the 365-day moving average. Said in another way, the 365-day average is twice of what the daily Bitcoin issuance is. And this is a ratio that purportedly is just completely out of whack. So different people are reporting on this. Again, I'm not suggesting that this is in any way kind of a guaranteed indicator, but it's interesting to see that historically it has shown some significance on CoinDesk.com. Bitcoin's Puell multiple flashes misleading bullish signal as China bans mining. The metric is tied to miners and may be distorted by China's mining ban. That's one reason to take it with a grain of salt. The Puell signal is flashing a buy signal. That's according to Ben Lilly, a crypto enthusiast at Jarvis Labs. However, the metric is so closely tied to miners and therefore may be distorted by China's mining ban, which, don't forget, had an effect on the Bitcoin hash rate to the tune of like a 50% crash. So a lot of things are being distorted right now, unfortunately. But as we talked about, the multiple is a ratio of the daily issuance of Bitcoin in US dollar terms and the 365-day moving average of the daily issuance value. That ratio has now dropped below 0.5, and it indicates the value of the newly issued Bitcoin daily is relatively low compared with historical standards. And a sub 0.5 reading on the indicator created by analyst David Puell has marked minor capitulation and bear market bottoms in the past, according to data provided by lookintobitcoin.com. If you're not familiar with the terms, daily issuance refers to the number of new coins supplied to the ecosystem by miners who receive them as rewards for mining blocks and approving transactions. Miners mainly operate on cash and sell coins almost daily. So I think it's interesting to point out in historical terms the fact that this has been very accurate in years past. The problem is that, as I look at it, is that you have statistical anecdotes that are always going to coincide in one way or the other with either tops or bottoms. And you can always point to some metric and say, well, this has always, this has coincided 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, however many times with such and such, or with X or with Y. It's not any guarantee that that pattern is going to repeat right now. And as this article, I think, responsibly points out, there's a lot of distortion right now. The impact of that Sichuan ban has actually been pretty significant and pretty atypical, even by Bitcoin's standards. And so this was perhaps a bit of an anomalous situation. I'm not saying to disregard this multiple altogether, but like anything else, take it with a grain of salt and consider it with some other statistics, some other metrics. That's all. So I'll link to this, of course, in the description below. You can also read about on cryptopotato.com. The buy signal for Bitcoin, Puell Multiple flashes, but there's more. Also, responsible journalism. Good job, I have to say. Although the accurate Puell Multiple metric has shown a buy signal for Bitcoin for just the 5th time, its creator actually warned that there's more to the story. So check that out on cryptopotato.com. A couple of other just positive macro level stories. Visa, as we know, is increasingly flirting with cryptocurrency. They have projects, they have ongoing collaborations and initiatives with Ethereum, for example. They're getting into the DeFi space, I think by necessity, because they realize that if they don't, they're going to be left behind. They're bolstering their crypto division with new hires and new promotions. Former presidential candidate for Nigeria among the payment company's additions. This is a bit of a dry article on blockworks.co, but you can check it out. We'll link to it in the description below. The point is that, in a nutshell, to summarize, Visa is moving in the direction of crypto. They're also making 5 strategic crypto hires and placements, so very much at the level of their recruitment, very much at the level of their onboarding, which is a great sign. At a macro level as well, don't forget Andreessen Horowitz. They recently announced, also known as A16Z, they recently announced the fact that they're launching headfirst into cryptocurrency and that they're radically optimistic. Those are their terms. They said crypto is going to revolutionize not only all things finance, but every aspect of your life. Radical optimism is the vibe that they're exuding. $2.2 billion. That was the size of their crypto fund. They're now starting to divvy that up. $12 million is going to Nansen, again, to help investors make sense of crypto markets. Blockchain analytics startup Nansen is building a product for crypto traders and hedge funds to more confidently navigate the world of decentralized finance. The product analyzes public blockchain information across some 90 million Ethereum wallets to clue users into evolving opportunities. So at the macro level, I don't think you can say that the space is discouraging at the moment. A lot of positive things are happening. Let's go a little bit more micro for the time being. Crypto.com with a couple of updates here. First of all, we haven't discussed their Supercharger in a little while, and this was unbeknownst to me. I didn't realize they were going back to Bitcoin, but I'm definitely going to participate in this particular Supercharger event, which is now live. Deposit CRO and farm Bitcoin with just one click. No gas fees. Withdraw anytime, available on the app and on the exchange. Bonus lucky draw participants via the app for the chance to win a share of the one Bitcoin prize pool. You can sign up. You can also, guys, avail yourselves of the link in both our description and the comments below. You can avail yourself of a Crypto.com metallic Visa card, the very best in the game, the best perks. It is free, a lot of upside. You can also stake your cryptocurrency. You can stake CRO if you so choose. And if you sign up with our link, which is in those descriptions and the comments below, you get $25 loaded onto your Visa card for free. We get $25. The ecosystem grows. It is win-win. So check out, if you're in the market for a Visa card, you want to up your crypto game, check out that information in both the description and the comments below. Crypto.com is still in the news. They're extremely excited to announce that they're the newest global partner of Formula One. We're also the first official cryptocurrency sponsor and NFT non-fungible token partner of F1. This is a major deal. As such, it's been getting coverage on not only cryptocurrency outlets, but every major legacy outlet out there. People are starting to notice this particular brand. It's growing, its popularity is increasing, its reputation is expanding in a good way. On Forbes.com, cryptocurrency is expanding its presence in Formula One with a $100 million deal. So this article, when was this published? This article from a couple of days ago. Earlier that day, it was announced that Formula One is going to partner with cryptocurrency exchange Crypto.com. The deal is reportedly worth $100 million and gives Crypto.com top bill branding slots at the new sprint qualifying rounds at the upcoming British GP Grand Prix, I think. The deal also affords the crypto exchange trackside billboard real estate for the remaining rounds of the 2021 season. Don't forget that they already, back in March, actually, they partnered with Aston Martin Cognizant Formula One team, and they announced that particular partnership. At the time, that was a little bit more focused, perhaps, but in addition to Aston Martin, Crypto.com now in a very big and a very prominent way is going to be featured as an official sponsor with a lot of visibility at Formula One. So great news. And finally, no video is complete without at least a partial roundup of Chainlink's activity. Chainlink is so dirt cheap right now. I don't understand it. When Chainlink is $1,000 plus, okay, when it's quadruple digits in terms of its price, and maybe that'll happen, in the next cycle a few years from now. But I think eventually, I don't see how Chainlink isn't like a top 3, a top 4. I don't see how that's not possible with everything that they're doing. So not financial advice, but I think you'll be happy when you picked up Chainlink at whatever it is now, $18, $19, at $100, you'd be happy you picked up Chainlink a few years from now, in my humble opinion. Chainlink on Twitter. Sports challenge platform Dotmoovs is using Chainlink VRF on Binance Chain to access verifiable randomness within upcoming draws, ensuring all users have a fair chance at winning exclusive prizes, including the first NFT from pro footballer 07R Charisma. Excuse me for butchering the name. I'm not much of a football fan, but great news out of Chainlink and Dotmoovs, kind of moving into that sporting territory, that sporting arena, no pun intended. So great news all around. So look, guys, despite whatever the market happens to be telling us right now, let's do a refresh. Down at the moment, 2.1%. So maybe we're beginning a slight uptick here. It doesn't really matter. Despite everything that's happening, I guess the theme of the video today was that there was so much positivity at the micro, at the macro level, and really every tier in between. There's so much happening that is positive in this space. My recommendation is that you keep following us on all the regular social media channels. Keep checking back into our website, altcoinbuzz.io, for all the latest. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell to receive notifications if you enjoyed today's video. None of this is financial advice, but of course, we do wish you the very best of luck if you do choose to invest. Members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, stay safe. Happy Thursday. Happy Canada Day, once again, if it applies to you. And as always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.